When you think about sports, you picture incredible skill, that electric feeling when your team pulls off a win.
Yeah.
But lurking beneath that surface, there's a darker side, a world where the pursuit of victory gets twisted
Hmm.
by the desire for money, specifically money from betting.
Right.
And that's what we're going to explore today, the murky world of sports betting scandals.
Yeah, it's a fascinating but kind of unsettling aspect of sports, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
You think about it throughout history,
Yeah.
there have been so many moments where the idea of fair play, that fundamental trust in the game,
Mm.
gets completely undermined by the lure of financial gain.
Yeah, it really does make you step back and think, especially today when online sports betting is just so prevalent.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
Absolute.
So understanding this darker history feels more important now than ever, don't you think?
For sure.
So that's what we're aiming to do in this deep dive, to unpack some of the most significant scandals. Times when that trust in the game was shattered because the outcome wasn't about who played better, but about someone trying to cash in on a bet.
Right. Yeah.
So we'll look at how these scandals have unfolded, the impact, and what's being done to prevent them.
Okay.
So let's rewind the clock a bit. When we talk about the history of sports betting scandals, where does the story really begin for you?
Well, I think for a lot of people, the conversation starts with the Black Sox scandal of 1919.
Okay, the Black Sox scandal.
Almost a legendary story.
Now, some of you listening might have heard that name, but let's break it down.
Yeah.
This involved the Chicago White Sox, right?
That's right.
And it wasn't just one or two players, it was a whole group.
Yeah, 8 players from the White Sox were accused of conspiring with gamblers to intentionally lose the World Series.
Wow.
The deal was that they would throw the games in exchange for, well, a substantial amount of money.
It's almost hard to grasp, isn't it?
Yeah.
Players at the very top of their game,
Yeah.
deliberately trying to lose on the biggest stage. Why do you think this particular scandal is still so infamous all these years later? What made it so impactful?
Well, I think it really boils down to how deeply it damaged the public's perception of baseball
Okay.
back then. And I think for many, even today, baseball was seen as this, pure and almost sacred part of American culture.
Yeah, America's pastime.
Exactly. So to have a championship series, the World Series, rigged like that, really shattered this image
Hmm.
that the game had this inherent integrity.
Right.
It showed everyone that even at the highest levels, the potential for corruption through match fixing was very real.
So it planted a seed of doubt, you could say, in
Yeah.
how people viewed sports and fair play.
Absolutely.
Mm.
And it really wasn't an isolated incident either.
And that takes us to another major scandal, the NBA referee scandal back in 2000.
Right.
Now, this one, I think, felt especially unsettling for fans because it involved someone who was supposed to be completely neutral.
Yeah, I mean, Tim Donaghy, an NBA referee, was caught betting on games that he himself was officiating,
What?
which is a huge problem on its own.
Yeah.
But it goes even deeper than that.
Okay.
It wasn't just about him placing bets. He was actually using his knowledge as a referee to influence the outcomes of games.
Through biased calls and things like that.
Exactly. So you're watching a game, and you think the referee is there to make impartial decisions.
Right. The ultimate authority.
Right. But then to find out that someone in that position is manipulating things for their own gain, it just completely undermines the integrity of the game.
It's a betrayal of trust at a whole other level, right?
Absolutely. And I think it raised some serious questions about the NBA's ability to guarantee fair play.
Hmm.
If a referee can be compromised, who's to say it couldn't happen again?
Now, we've talked about scandals in American sports, but this isn't just a U.S. problem, is it?
No, not at all.
When you look at the information out there,
Yeah.
you see how widespread these issues are globally.
Right.
That huge soccer match-fixing ring that was uncovered in Europe back in 2013, that one really shows the extensive reach these operations can have.
It was massive. The European Union got involved in the investigation, and they found a network that spanned across numerous countries.
Wow.
It involved players, coaches, even club executives.
So it wasn't just isolated incidents.
No, it seemed to be systemic, with entire matches being manipulated for betting profits.
The scale of it is just mind-boggling, isn't it?
Yeah, it really highlights the sheer amount of money involved in global football betting and how that money can fuel corruption at practically every level of the sport.
And it's not just individuals acting alone, right?
No, these are often well-organized networks operating across borders.
Making them all the more difficult to track down and stop.
Exactly. And with the huge sums at stake, The temptation to manipulate outcomes is enormous.
So it's a constant battle to stay ahead of these operations.
Absolutely.
And it's not just traditional sports either.
Right.
Even the world of esports has been hit by these scandals.
Yeah, in 2021, we saw multiple players from top esports organizations banned for throwing matches for betting purposes.
Now, for some people, this might be surprising. You think of esports as being this digital realm,
Right.
maybe more controlled, less vulnerable to this kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it shows that regardless of the setting, those fundamental human motivations, the greed, the desire for easy money,
Right.
those things can drive people to compromise their integrity, even in the virtual world.
So it really underscores that it's not about the type of sport.
No.
It's about the people and the financial incentives.
Yeah.
So let's dig a little deeper into that. Why?
Oh.
What drives these scandals? It's easy to say it's all about the money, but are there other factors at play?
Money is definitely the primary motivator, and the rise of legal sports betting has probably made things worse.
In what way?
It's created more opportunities for betting, and with more money being wagered,
Right.
the potential rewards for fixing matches become even greater. But you also have to consider the individuals involved, their personal circumstances.
Yeah, their motivations.
Right? An athlete, a coach, or a referee might be facing financial difficulties.
Right.
And the chance to manipulate a game could seem like a quick fix,
Mm.
a way out of debt, or a way to make a lot of money quickly.
So desperation, or maybe just plain greed, can really override someone's ethics.
Yeah, it's a tough situation, and it have far-reaching consequences.
So let's talk about those consequences.
Okay.
For the fans, for the sport itself.
Right. Well, the most immediate impact is on the people involved. Once you're caught in a betting scandal, your career is often over,
Right.
and your reputation is tarnished. But it goes beyond that. It really strikes at the heart of what makes sports matter to people, the integrity of the game.
Yeah, that trust that it's a fair competition.
Exactly. When fans start to believe that the games are rigged,
Right.
it erodes their trust.
And why would you invest your time, your emotions,
Exactly.
in something you think might be fake?
Right. It takes away the excitement, the passion.
And that loss of trust has a ripple effect, right?
Oh, absolutely.
It impacts the economics of the sport.
Yes. If fans feel betrayed, they might stop watching, stop buying tickets.
Right. Viewership goes down.
And that hurts the leagues, the teams, everyone involved.
And what about the sponsors?
That's another big one. Sponsors invest a lot of money in sports,
Right.
and they don't want their brands associated with scandal.
Mm.
So they might pull their support, which further damages the financial health of the sport.
So it's a mess all around.
It really is, and it affects everyone, from the players to the fans.
So given all of this, what can be done?
Well, the good news is that there are efforts being made to combat this.
Okay. What kind of efforts?
Well, for one thing, governments and sports leagues around the world are implementing stricter regulations on sports betting.
Okay. To try and make it harder to manipulate things.
Exactly. And they're also investing in sophisticated monitoring systems that track betting patterns and try to flag any suspicious activity that might point to match fixing.
So basically, trying to stay one step ahead of those who would try to manipulate the system.
That's the idea, but it's an ongoing challenge.
Yeah, it feels like a constant back and forth.
It is. As the methods for detection get more advanced, those trying to fix matches also get more sophisticated. It's a continuous arms race in a way.
So how do we break this cycle?
Well, I think it comes down to emphasizing the core values of sports, the integrity of the game.
Okay.
It's about reminding everyone involved, from the athletes to the officials to the fans,
Right.
that the love of the game, the spirit of fair competition, should always come first.
And that's really what it all boils down to, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about protecting the essence of sports.
So as we wrap things up, it's clear that sports betting scandals are a recurring problem.
Yeah.
From the Black Sox scandal over a century ago to modern esports.
Right.
There's this constant tension between the love of the game and the lure of money.
Absolutely. And it's something that everyone involved needs to be aware of.
Because ultimately, the integrity of sports depends on it.
Yeah, it's a shared responsibility.
And it leaves us with a big question. Is it even possible to completely eradicate this dark side?
That's a tough one.
Or will it always be a threat, requiring constant vigilance and proactive measures to protect fair competition?
It's a challenge, that's for sure.
It's a delicate balance, the
Right.
thrill of the game versus the influence of money, something for all of us to think about.
Absolutely. Something to keep in mind every time we watch a game.
And with that, we'll leave you to ponder that.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.